Welcome back to another episode of Lifesight AI, the podcast series. And this episode is very well timed, a really exciting one as well. It's with a company called Charco, a UK-based startup, and we're really grateful to have their founder, Lucy Jung, on the episode today to talk all about her story and all about Charco. You might have heard of them in the news recently. There's some pretty big announcements coming through. And interesting, when we were setting up this episode, Cypro knew an announcement was coming. But obviously Lucy and the team couldn't mention what it was, and pretty much a week before it got announced, so it was just perfect timing. So welcome to the podcast, Lucy. Absolute pleasure to have you on.
So thank you so much for having us today. So yes, my name is Lucy Jung, and I'm very, very much looking forward to today's talk.
No worries, it's a pleasure to have you on. And I think what would be great if you start with a little intro into yourself and Charco first for everybody who haven't seen you guys around.
Of course. So my name is Lucy Jung. I did my undergrad in industrial design, and it's almost like a product design, but more kind of specified in what of the topics that you're interested in. I worked briefly in a product design agencies, consultancies working on medical devices and consumer kind of products. My interest got into medical devices and solutions when I started studying at Innovation Design Engineering course back in 2013 at Imperial College and Royal College of Art. It's a double master's course. It's a really interesting course where lots of startup kind of start.
Yeah.
I got really interested in medtech because I really basically wanted to use all of my skills that I do have to help people with long-term conditions and mostly incurable conditions. So I've worked in paralysis, multiple sclerosis, and insensitivity to pain. And most of them were kind of a project basis university, like you do like 3-month project, you move on to 6-month project, and then you have deliverables, and then that's almost, end of the project. So Parkinson's, I have to be honest, it was one of the topics that we kind of chose, and I think there was lots of reason for that. Which one of them was like, it was the fastest growing neurodegenerative condition, meaning lots and lots of people were frustrated. What I have to say kind of got my attention a lot was both of my grandma have Alzheimer's. It is really painful to kind of see them like kind of losing themselves. But with Parkinson's, it's really more like really kind of came to shock to me that people themselves are there, like they are themselves, but it's almost like the motor symptoms really kind of, they're almost trapped in their body. And just like one of the moments that I remember the first time I met with someone with Parkinson's, he was saying, I'm really happy right now, but because of Parkinson's made my face stiff, I can't smile anymore, and people think I'm angry all the time. And from then, we were kind of aiming to bring smiles back for people with Parkinson's. So that was back in 2014. We worked on lots of prototypes, talked with lots of people with Parkinson's, and I had to take massive time off in between because of my own health issue, unfortunately, which kind of taught me that research should not end as a research. If there's any potential of us being able to help people with long-term conditions, we should do everything to help them. So in 2019, we came back and decided to actually, make a tangible impact into people's lives. So that's kind of a long story short, and that's how Charco started to develop a medical device that provides stimulation that combines focused stimulation and cueing phenomena to reduce the symptoms of people with Parkinson's. I hope that covered everything.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And we'll go into sort of what underpins Charco and the technology behind it in a short while. It's absolutely fascinating. What I'm really intrigued by is, and this is what we sort of try and understand everybody who works in this industry, because you can do a lot of things with the technologies that we all are familiar with, and you can work in different industries, have different revenue streams, let's say, that are, that are less comparable. But you can never make as much of an impact. And the point there of you having a sort of a personal understanding of degenerative diseases, but then almost not going down sort of the personal route, but seeing perhaps the frustration on the person with Parkinson's disease. So when did you first see that? You said there was a guy who was happy, but he couldn't be happy. He couldn't say that he was happy or persuade people he was happy. When was that moment that you thought, this is what I can do?
It's absolutely that moment, to be honest. So it may feel like it's such a kind of, yes, okay, that gentleman can't smile. But if you actually think about it, like imagine that, it's your family members and it's your friends who think you're angry all the time, but you're not angry. Like you're happy, but you can't show that emotion. It's such a big frustration. And it was just like, if you spend few days and if you meet people, a few people with Parkinson's, you'll be able to see, just going for a walk, making a cup of tea, doing buttons on the shirt, or any kind of this movement really can make them frustrated, not only frustrated, but also like it relates with confidence, it relates with other activities that they can't do. And if you can listen to their story, then you understand how frustrating it is. And also, most importantly, when we are developing this prototype and device, we were constantly working together with the clinicians and scientists to actually come up with objective measure and all these clinical measures, which is very, very important. However, I still remember one of our participants, we were continuously doing evaluation, and he asked me, like, Lucy, why are you constantly just looking into this percentage of improvement if this device can help me just take one more step forward? And he asked me to think about the scenario where he's on a train and he couldn't get out of the train because it was his stop, but he got freeze of gait, which is one of the symptoms for people with Parkinson's, and he was stuck and he was just going around and around on the tube, although he wanted to get out. And if you think about, it's just, yes, it's one step, but if he was able to, get out of that train, that it would have made such a difference in his daily life, confidence, emotions, everything. So that kind of made us realize how important it is to even do absolutely anything to help people with Parkinson's. So I think it's difficult to measure impact when it actually comes to human, like when it comes to like their actual daily life. And that was one of the biggest learning that I had through the development of the device. And it kind of gives us ease of thought as well, because if you're trying to target into what is clinically significant, what is the statistically important measure, versus to actually thinking about this individual's life, it makes it much easier for you to actually, I just want this person to take one extra step, then you're doing something meaningful.
So would you say that you have a more patient or maybe user-centered approach rather than a clinical approach?
I would never say like one is more important than the other. They're both very, very important. But really interestingly, if you actually talk with lots of clinicians, they will at the end of the day say, if it helps with patients, then it works for them. So although it may kind of like in the beginning when I started, I thought clinicians will kind of look into different things, but I don't think it's true. Like they look into the same thing. They want people with Parkinson's to benefit. They have a strict kind of criteria and protocol to make sure that it is working for people with Parkinson's. People with Parkinson's obviously want their lives to be better. So I absolutely love it when we talk with clinicians or, physiotherapists or anyone who is in the Parkinson's area, that they always think about what is the improvement with the quality of life. So that was like such a great learning, and it's incredible to know that at the end of the day, everyone is hoping that this helps people, which is absolutely amazing.
Sure. Now, I guess maybe not taking from a clinical versus sort of user approach, more like probably better way to phrase it would be a quantitative versus qualitative evidence approach. You know, you can take the stats of how like you said, percentage of how what's improved, but actually the qualitative data of what that one step means for that one person is so much more than just a percentage and a stat behind it.
So I would say, is one important than the other? I don't think I can give an answer, but both are very, very important. So yeah, sorry for being like a greedy, but I think both are very, very important, because we really want to give right information to people. So we want to give them right information, saying this amount of people have benefited X amount. People who have this kind of symptom have benefited this, versus people who have different symptoms have benefited that. So we're giving right information to people so that they can make their own decision whether they want to go into this or not. And I think the reason why these qualitative and quantitative measures are also important for us is, by learning these, we will be able to get to the next stage. So CUE1 is named CUE1 because this is absolutely kind of beginning of our journey, and we are very excited because we need to learn more. We have to talk with clinicians, we have to talk with every healthcare professionals and people with Parkinson's. People with Parkinson's, I have to say, being the most important people, because we are trying to bring smiles back for them, and work towards to the next step of, okay, we have this much. What can we do more? How can we make it better so we can help them more? So I have to say, right now, our team is lots of engineers, clinicians, neuroscientists, designers. Like, we all kind of combine together and work on different measures to make sure that it's not only objectively helping, but also they are saying it's helping with their quality of life. So it's the mixture of everything.
No, that makes sense. No, it does. It's it's kind of like the feedback you get from the user on their impact, but also you've got to take like a statistical approach. So actually, before they start, it's going to actually help you. You know.
Absolutely.
When you think about when you started Charco and spinning out really of your master's projects, so what? Let's go with the technology first. What underpins the device? What is it based upon? What are the key principles, and what's it looking to achieve? Because you mentioned a few things about different parts of Parkinson's, different symptoms of Parkinson's, and how that can affect people differently. So I guess it must be quite challenging to have a device that has different symptoms that it needs to take for different people sometimes as well, you know?
I absolutely love this story, because lots of people kind of ask, so where did the idea kind of spark? And it was kind of lots of process. If I can kind of pin it down, it was one of the gentlemen who said when he sits on a massage chair, his symptoms were so much better. So he will be doing that. And I got really curious about, what is the massage chair actually doing? I mean, you can kind of think, okay, it's a massage chair, so maybe it's like helping, but I got really kind of really curious. So we started making lots of different prototypes that was basically functionality wise doing similar thing that massage chair was doing. And then we started creating like lots and lots of prototypes in different forms, different positions, using different materials, and worked together with people with Parkinson's. At that stage, it was just, myself and getting advice from Floyd Pierce, who is the co-founder, what kind of measure we have to look into. But every week I'll be visiting people with Parkinson's, at least like 3-4 of them by myself. So it was quite of lots of kind of learning for me, going back to them, preparing the prototype, testing with them, get their feedback. And I always ask for, and like still do, saying, please give us honest opinion. And we really narrowed down to this device that was really helping with their symptoms. Now, then what we did is our co-founder, Floyd Pierce, started getting really interested, saying like, actually, what is it actually doing to help reduce the symptoms? And we started digging into the literature. So we kind of went back. So we reinvented what has been studied for like very long time. So it goes back to 19th century of Professor Charco, where we are kind of named after, where he realized that people who come to him on a carriage ride had better symptoms. And I love that he also got inspired with this like daily kind of activity. And he started realizing that the kind of vibration that people are getting through the journey was actually helping reducing the symptoms of Parkinson. So he developed this whole body stimulation device. And from then onwards, there are lots of studies around whole body stimulation and focus stimulation. And it is actually focus stimulation that has been showing more benefit to individuals. And cueing is another thing that has been known for clinicians for, and also people with Parkinson's for very, very long time, where they use kind of a metronome type of stimulation, whether it is auditory or visual or tactile, to help with their symptoms, especially with the walking, for example. By combining these like already known theories and phenomena, we were able to make CUE1, which is really helping with various of symptoms. And more importantly, we designed it so that it can be worn through their daily life. So it's not just a research tool anymore. They can actually wear it, one button click, and they are getting the stimulation and they are off to go.
Wow. And what is without sharing all of your secrets, what is, so the device is very small. So it fits on someone's chest, right? It's probably no bigger than a coaster that you would put a drink on, right? On a,
very
yeah,
small.
yeah. So so how is that stimulating senses? What are you doing to the body with the technology?
Well, as you mentioned, I think it kind of goes into our like lots of study that we are currently doing. So whole body, so focus stimulation that we are using goes into actually decrease of the beta wave activity, which is often increased with people with Parkinson's. And by reducing the beta wave, it has shown to help with faster movement, for example. So rigidity and slowness of movement is one of the biggest symptoms of Parkinson's, which affects, everything, as I mentioned, going for a walk or opening buttons or, doing buttons on shirt. So that has shown to reduce rigidity and slowness. And that is one of the key parameters that we're looking into, whether it's improved or not using our device. The other thing with the cueing, it's basically, as mentioned, it's giving a metronome type of a signal to help people to carry on with their movement.
Right. I see. So it's culminating both of those
Yes.
for it. So what sort of technology are we doing to interact with the beta wave? Like, is there signal processing? Is there AI behind it? Like, how is it similar to an ECG type sort of technology, or?
So it's actually mechanical stimulation. It is a vibration. So we call it tactile stimulation, but you can actually feel it. So if you hold on to it like your phone, you'll be able to feel it. When it's on the sternum, it feels quite different because I think there's an element of, being on a sternum, it is very close to your bone. So you can actually kind of feel the vibration getting transferred. Really interestingly, some people say they can hear it. Some people say they couldn't hear it. Sometimes they say, is it actually on or not? It really depends on individuals. But yes, it's mechanical vibration stimulation that has been formed with the particular frequency and amplitude and, the gaps between the stimulation to help with the movement. So lots of study around what kind of stimulation is working best for individual, because everyone is different.
Yeah.
And it's another massive study that we're currently doing, and we're getting close to understanding this particular parameter works better for people who have this stimulation and the others as well.
Yeah. No, I was going to ask actually that, like, is there particular device for particular people? Like, do you calibrate each device for each person?
So we have stimulation that seems to be working in most of the cohort. So obviously, like I have to say right now, and I have to say this is an open question for us, but so far what we're saying is it's most symptom dependent. So depending on what symptom that they have, particular parameter works better. People who have dominant, for example, freeze of gait, this stimulation seems to be working better. So what we're constantly doing is we are collecting the data of what kind of stimulation is working better for individual so that we can implement that to CUE2. So a lot of R&D.
Yeah, so it's less actually to do with the person, it's more to do with the symptoms that they will have. So will you kind of get to a point where you'll have, like, someone will come to you and say, look, these are my symptoms, and you go, right, we'll set it up in this way first, and let's see how that goes, because we know it's going to be based on that type of stuff.
So even more, so where we're getting into is that the device understands individual symptom.
Wow.
So we started, we've got a prototype for the next stage where it's collecting the data where it understands what symptom dominant that individual have and calibrate itself to give the right stimulation, because everyone varies so much with people with Parkinson's, depending on their medication being active or not active. Like, they're really different depending on the day. They're really different. You can't exactly just give one stimulation and then say, okay, you're good. It has been working quite great, but I think we can do better. So that's what we're trying to do, get better.
Yeah, so super personalized then.
Oh, that's exactly what we're hoping to do, because everyone is different.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, that's exciting. We'll see how far along you go with that. I know there's, before we get onto it, so I'm itching to get onto it as well, and what's next for you guys. But just as a founder, how have you found it being a founder? Yeah, well, that's a really poor question.
No, that's absolutely amazing question. So I have to say, like, lots of times we see some people kind of come to us and ask about how does it feel like being a founder. And, we do get sometimes asked, because some people, like founders, look like really kind of fancy, like they're doing what they want to. I have to say, I definitely agree. Yes, we are doing what we want to, and our vision is here. So, it's not like work is separate to our life, because it's almost like hobby, what you love, what you want to do, everything combined into this, like a company that you're, really developing. I think one of the really kind of a big mistakes some people think is that, oh, you must be only working whenever you want to. You must have freedom. Do you have a freedom? I guess to a certain level, you have a massive freedom of what you choose to do, like direction that you want to go into. However, you have to think about lots of things. It's not yourself. Now you're thinking about the company, you're thinking about the team. You have to think about the people who are kind of trusting in you and trusting into your vision, and also people who are waiting for it. So there's a lot of kind of obligation, responsibility that kind of follows into it. I have to say, like, I never regretted becoming a founder, because as mentioned, like, it is the vision that we always kind of aimed for, and we are very grateful that we can work with these incredible people in our team. But it is quite a journey. You learn so much along the way. You can never learn everything before you start. I think that is a mistake. You can't learn everything. You learn as you go. And as far as what your goal is, what your vision is, you can tackle them. You just need to be, resistant.
Just have always the vision and the impact you want to make.
Absolutely.
At the forefront of what you do. So you said you keep learning, and as a lot of these devices that have been on the podcast series and companies have been university spin-offs. It seems like most these days are. So no one who is a founder who's a university spin-off is a finished article for it. So you always will be learning as you go. What would you say the biggest learns that you've had are, both from like a business perspective and a let's say an engineering R&D perspective?
I have to say, my biggest learning is that you won't know everything. And you have to learn as it goes. So sorry about repeating, but I think it was such a big kind of a game changer for me to accept that I will never know everything. And it's actually very important, because before I started Charco, I was kind of thinking, I never studied business, or like I never studied manufacturing, I never studied medtech regulations. So can I actually do this? Actually, again, it kind of goes down to how clear your vision is. And all of these things that you have to do is almost like a, a step towards to your goal. So you can get that step done. And then if you actually look into that bigger vision, then these steps kind of feels less of a big burden, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that you have to tackle to get to your goal. And suddenly it's not that it's easy, but it becomes less, of a pressure that you don't know everything, because you'll never know everything. And then you build your team around yourself if you need extra help. So I have to say that was the biggest learning, and it was a great learning because it gave me comfort to move forward.
No, for sure. You said building a team there. I'm quite intrigued to know how you went about building a team, like, and if you thought it was going to be based on, like I said, what you don't know, or was it based on culture, or was it based on people who had an invested interest that you knew and stuff. So how did you go about building a team? And as a follow-up to this, when did you decide to build a team? Because salaries, outgoing costs is independence really on you making decisions. There's always a big step probably to make.
The- Um, I remember when we first started, it was myself full-time and Floyd Pierce being part-time, because he is full-time doctor, meaning that he's got only evenings that he can share his bed to Charco. And obviously it's a lot of work. And at that time, and every company decides to take which direction that they want to go for. We raised our first fund straight after university graduation. We were very lucky to meet, get university fund as well. So what we decided to actually do is work together with subcontractors. And the reason for that was because you needed a lot of a team to be able to carry this project forward. And like looking for team members and like everything, it would have taken time. For us, we are kind of, I have to say, we're time sensitive, because people with Parkinson's, I always kind of think about individuals. They don't have forever. They need the device right now. It can help them right now. If we can speedily get it out there, we will be making impact straight away. So we started working with the subcontractors. So the company was going, but we obviously needed the team members. I still remember kind of trying to look for people and getting quite nervous about where do we find someone. And Floyd was saying, like, Lucy, don't try to kind of chase them down. If you keep on doing what you want to do and you focus on your vision, the right people will find you. And as soon as he actually said that, I was like, actually, that's very true. I'll just keep on doing my thing. And I think like 2 or 3 days later, I went to a pitch event. And it wasn't for investment, it wasn't for anything. It was just to introduce what we're doing. And I met Alex, who is our COO now. And it was just like incredible because he was so aligned with the vision that we wanted to do. Lots of our team members, especially the early on our founding team, I have to say all of our team members are founding team members, and they were absolutely incredible people who have amazing hearts, amazing brain, just focusing on how can I use my skill to help people. And if you find those people, they will absolutely do anything that is required to build the company, not just, okay, this is my task, I'll just do this one. They will actually think about the whole vision. So I always say, if you're building the team, find team members who are aligned with your vision. More important thing is that rather than, okay, they're fit for the skill, then bring them in. So that's kind of how we built the team.
No, that's great. It's always an important one, because keeping someone's team aligned to the vision, aligned to the purpose of what we're doing, and it's something about when we're building our teams in Cyprus that we're really careful of as well, because you have to match the purpose of the individual with the purpose of the project, because that's when you're going to get people going extra mile. That's when we're going to get really making a difference, because these jobs aren't 9 to 5s, are they?
No, exactly.
You've got to have that fire. You've got to have that purpose, right? And that's really exciting. So the news, I'll let you announce the news. We've held off long enough, but you guys announced some brilliant news recently, right?
Yes, that's correct. So Charco have closed our seed round at $10 million in total, and I believe that we are biggest in the European this year and sixth, I think, in the world for the seed side fund. So yes, it was very exciting to close the fund because there are like 6,000 people on our waiting list who are waiting for us to keep on working. So we cannot wait to scale up our manufacturing, continue our R&D so we can further benefit lots and lots of people around the world as soon as possible.
No, it's extraordinary, the funding you have. And I wasn't aware you had a 6,000 waiting list. So just to give an idea of the impact that money will have on not just on Charco, but the people. How many users do you have at the moment?
So at the moment, I think beta testers, I believe that we've got just over 10. But people who've tested the device, I believe it's over around maybe 40 people. The reason why we had to let them test it and all of this is because we were learning as we go. The beta testers right now, they're basically our, quality check team members because they're checking if the farmer is right, if the material is right, is the weight right. So we've got a quality check team who is people with Parkinson's who are currently using the devices.
No, that's awesome. So you're going to go from 10 people using it to potentially enabling the waiting list to get to have access to the first even CUE1 or CUE2, right? So he's mentioned R&D, and I alluded to it there with the next one. But what will it mean for the R&D, this funding?
Yes, so we also have, so CUE2 definitely, and the other thing is that focused vibrotactile stimulation cueing phenomena is not just limited to people with Parkinson's. It has shown benefit for multiple sclerosis, stroke, and spinal cord injuries, and also like stammering and so on. Orthostatic tremor is actually another massive thing, one that we are actually going to test from this weekend. So we want to kind of see if there's further things that we can do in terms of other conditions. We will be continuously looking into what other things can we do to improve the symptoms for people with long-term conditions. The application that we're developing, which is tracking the symptoms of Parkinson's, we're very kind of seeing exciting early findings with the data analysis. We are really hoping that we can put more resource into really getting into so that we can optimize the care and treatment for people with Parkinson's.
No, that's awesome. I was going to ask sort of like, are you going to be focusing solely on Parkinson's or any other areas that you can look at as well? Because I know a lot of other businesses who get it right effectively on their sort of one area of care. Think, right, do we then specialize in this vertical of care, let's say, or do we look at, like you said, spinal injuries, stammers and such like that for people? I guess for me, what stands out with yourself is kind of connecting the dots on two phenomena, which is just hasn't been connected before, and then but making it a wearable device that isn't intrusive at all. So I guess then with the R&D and making it more personalized, and you kind of that'll be it, done. And you guys do, it's a B2C, right? So you go straight to the individuals. Is that still going to be your sort of strategy moving forward, or are you going to go down sort of a clinical route as well?
Great question. So we are starting with B2C, and the reason for that, once again, is because it's the fastest route to get to people. However, we are doing everything that is needed to get into B2B, basically getting the devices through the NHS, through our clinicians, so that everyone can get an access to it. The activities that we're obviously taking is the health economic analysis, further bigger trials, and then we can convince clinicians as well as commissioners so that we can get the devices into people's hands.
Yeah, and that'll be awesome. And there's a massive future. I'm super excited. When we're connected during the summer, I was just like, this could be really interesting. And just listening and learning so much more on this podcast. Hopefully, it's not going to be the only one that we do together. As you travel through, I'm really excited by it. I don't know if you have any particular things you want to highlight just before we finish about Charco, or about your journey, what's coming up next, or anything like that.
We are getting into preparing for the launch of our devices, and we're doing everything that we can do to get the devices before Christmas, because it was always my dream to get the devices for people with Parkinson's as a Christmas gift. It was something that I always kind of had from the beginning. What I really want to mention is that, we are learning. Like all of our team members are learning as we go. We will never be perfect from the one go, but we are so grateful of our communities with people with Parkinson's and their family members and clinicians and our advisors and everyone who is so patient and really working together with us to, help people. And I think there's some incredible people out there. When we were, like small, lots of people were basically giving us, advice without gaining anything, spending time with them, with us to give us an advice and really help us with the focus and the direction. So I think we can make a lot of impact. I know, it's not a cure, unfortunately. It's not, finding the cause. However, we will continue to do our best within our capacity until further research is done, so that we can really beat this, condition. So that's what I kind of wanted to mention.
No, that's awesome. And what's been prevalent throughout this whole conversation is your passion. Not just for Charco, but just delivering quality of care and bettering people's lives with Parkinson's. And it's just inspiring. And I'm so pleased we had this chat, and I'm so pleased that everyone's been able to listen to you and share and be able to share your story, because I really think that next year could be really interesting for you guys and to see where you go. So it's been an absolute pleasure, Lucy. Thank you very much for joining.
Not at all. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope that was helpful.
No worries. Thanks, Lucy. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you.